Diarchy is a form of government in which two individuals are joint heads of state. Most diarchs hold their position for life, passing the position to their children or other family members. Diarchy is one of the oldest forms of government. Examples include ancient Sparta, Rome, Carthage, as well as Germanic and Dacian tribes. Several ancient Polynesian societies also exhibited a diarchic political structure. Ranks in the Inca Empire were structured in moieties, with two occupants of each rank, but with different prestige, one hanan and one herin. In modern usage, diarchy means a system of dual rule, whether this be of a government or of an organization. Such diarchies are not hereditary. Modern examples of diarchies are the Principality of Andorra, whose heads of state are the President of France and the Bishop of Urgell, the Republic of San Marino, led by two collegial captains regent, and the Kingdom of Swaziland, where the joint heads of state are the king and his mother. Current diarchies. Andorra. The Principality of Andorra is a parliamentary co-principality with the President of France and the Bishop of Urgell as co-princes. This peculiarity makes the President of France, in his capacity as Prince of Andorra, an elected reigning monarch, even though he is not elected by a popular vote of the Andorran people, but rather by the French people. San Marino. The captains regent of the Republic of San Marino are elected every 6 months by the Grand and General Council, the country's parliament. The duo serve as heads of state and government. Normally the regents are chosen from opposing parties. They serve a 6-month term. Swaziland. The Kingdom of Swaziland is a diarchy in which the king rules in conjunction with his mother, the Queen Mother. In practice, however, most power is vested in the king, though it is often argued that the giving of authority wholesale to the royal male in this way is a neo-traditionalistic as opposed to truly traditional custom. Former diarchies. Gonghi Regency. The Gonghi Regency of the Zhou dynasty was ruled jointly by two dukes for a short period according to Han Dynasty historian Sima Qian, but it is more likely that the Count of Gong was the actual single ruler. Roman Republic. The Roman Republic was ruled by two consuls, elected each year and each holding a veto power over the other's actions. Russia. February-October 1917. After the February Revolution, the Russian Provisional Government in the Petrograd Soviet was in charge of Russia. Samoa. The independent state of Samoa was established as a diarchy in 1962, with two of the nation's four paramount chiefs, Muliatoa Tanumafili II and Tupua Tamases Miola, declared joint heads of state, or Ola Aola Malo for life. Samoa has consistently had a single head of state since Miol's death in 1963. In 2007 it transitioned to an elected head of state following Tanumafili's death. Swedish monarchs Erik and Ulrich, Yngvi and Alf, Björn and Uppsala, Erik the Victorious and Olaf Björnsson, Erik the Victorious and Olaf Skotkonung, Halsten Stenkilsson and Inga I. Philip and Inga II. In England, Scotland, and Ireland, William III and Mary II held joint sovereignty over the three kingdoms of England, Scotland, and Ireland from 1688 to 1694. Mary I and Philip ruled together over England, Ireland, and the Habsburg dominions from 1554 to 1558 through Queen Mary's Marriage Act, making Philip King of England by jure uxoris. Lithuanian Monix. The Lithuanian Grand Dukes typically selected sub-monarchs from their families or loyal subjects to assist controlling the Grand Duchy. However, the Grand Dukes remained superior. Vytaunis and Gediminas. Gediminas and an unknown Duke of Trakai, presumably Gediminas' son, Algirdus and Kestutis. Jogaila and Kestutis. A slightly different system developed for a brief period after Vytautas became Grand Duke, where nominally Vytautas ruled together with Jogaila. who took the title of Auxtrosiasis Cunegaxtis, but he has not once used the title to take any action, and in general the powers invested in the title were not clearly stated in any documents, besides the Pact of Heralder, which guaranteed that Jogaila would have to approve the selection of a Lithuanian Grand Duke. The title was not used by any other king of Poland after Jogaila. Vytautas and Jogaila, Svitrigaila and Jogaila for a brief period, until Svitrigaila declared war on Poland. Sigismund I of Lithuania and Jogaila until Jogaila's death. Classical Sparta in ancient Greece was ruled for over 700 years by two kings at a time, belonging to two separate dynasties, who could veto one another's actions. In addition, Sparta had groups of officials known as ephors and a council of elders. Spiritual and temporal kings. Another common pattern of diarchy has one king in charge of spiritual matters and another, usually subordinate to the first, in charge of temporal or military matters. This pattern was followed in early Hungarian society by the spiritual kender and the military gayula. The Khazars were ruled by the spiritual Khagan and the military bek. During the shogunate of Japan, the emperor held spiritual and nominal authority over the whole country, while the shogun held temporal authority. Colonial Canada. From 1841 to 1867, the province of Canada was usually governed jointly by two premiers, one from mostly English-speaking Canada West and one from mostly French-speaking Canada East. Tibet's dual system of government. Campusi. Other usage. Australian Defence Organisation. The Australian Defence Organisation is an Australian government organisation which consists of the Australian Defence Force and the Civilian Department of Defence personnel supporting the ADF. The Chief of the Defence Force and the Secretary of the Department of Defence jointly manage the Aduunda of Diarchy, wherein both report directly to the Minister for Defence. The Diarchy is a governance structure unique in the Australian Commonwealth Public Service. India. On 20 August 1917 in the British House of Commons, the newly appointed Secretary of State, Edwin Samuel Montagu, made the Grand Declaration, which said that British policy was increasing association of Indians in every branch of the administration and the gradual development of self-governing institutions with a view to progressive realization of responsible government in British India as an integral part of the British Empire. In pursuance of the policy laid down in the announcements by Montagu, the Secretary of State, and Frederick Thesiger, 1st Viscount Chelmsford, the Governor-General of India, made an extensive tour of India in 1917 and 1918 and produced the Montagu-Chelmsford Report containing recommendations that paved the way for Government of India Act 1919. That Act of 1919 introduced diarchy, or dual government, in the provinces, where the executive was to be headed by a governor appointed by the Secretary of State, who could consult the Governor-General. The governor was responsible to the Secretary of State for acts of omission and commission. He was to maintain law and order in the province and ensure that the provincial administration worked smoothly. In respect of transferred subjects, he was to be assisted by his ministers, whereas reserved subjects were to be administered by the Governor-General and his Executive Council. The members of the Executive Council were to be appointed by Secretary of State and were responsible to him in all matters. There were certain matters that he was to administer at his own discretion, in which he was responsible to the Secretary of State. Each councillor was to remain in office for a period of 4 years. Their salaries and service conditions were not subject to the vote of provincial legislature. All decisions in the council were to be taken by a majority of votes, the governor being able to break ties